He is, arguably, the greatest climber of all time, the title he shrugs off. People who say that, he says, don't know history. Reinhold Messner was the first to climb Everest without supplemental oxygen and the first to solo it. He was the first to climb all 14 8,000-meter peaks. He brought alpine climbing to the Himalaya and redefined mountaineering in a way that made it a different game. In his native Dolomites, he established over 500 new routes. No one has matched his achievements, and they never will. Now aged 66, Messner climbs with his son, is completing a mountain museum at his castle in the South Tyrol, and recently attended a trade show where he signed copies of his books, he's written over 50, and in a rare interview, sat down with Rock and Ice.
If you speak about all times, you are forced to put the climbs in competition. This is not possible. I think that the first climbs in 1786, when they climbed Mont Blanc, up to the climbs of Matterhorn in 1865, up to the Eiger North face in 1933, up to the first ascent of the direct Ruppal face by Steve House in 2005. You cannot put a comparison in. Each generation had the opportunity to do the goals of the time. And these are the leading climbs. And climbing history is nothing else than finding out what was the key climb of the time. But you cannot put a comparison between a key climb of the 30s, last century, and the 70s or now. And each is only a key figure in his time and not out of his time. For this is totally wrong to say this climber is the leading climber of all times. That's bullshit. They show me that they have no idea about history. Because history is I could be, maybe I had the leadership in high altitude climbing, there's no doubt, between, I would say, 75 and beginning of the 80s. Because together with Peter Haberler, we invented a new approach. And we were then the only ones for a few years, only for a few years, to behave in this way, because nobody else had the experience to do so. But we were overcome quite quickly by the Polish climbers, by the Slovenian climbers. I'm still surprised about many things. Life is life is great and beautiful generally, but I was not dreaming about with 20 that the life I did in the meanwhile, it's possible. I did not think that it's possible to be a professional climber. I became a professional rock climber, I became a professional high altitude climber, I became an adventurer. I became easily a politician. It was the most easy thing to run for a seat in the parliament, and I did it by my own, and to become a politician. If you use all the technical equipment which is available, you can do everything without either being a rock climber. You can go every wall up. You need one bolt for each meter, and you can do what you want. So impossible is not anymore there. But the evolution of climbing, mountaineering, was based on the fact that each generation tried to change what was impossible. And we should keep open the fact that some things should always impossible, also in 1 million of years. I failed only climbing the 8,000 meter peaks 13 times. And without failures, I would not be here. And without the failures, maybe I would not have been successful on the end. And I didn't become successful in my fields because I'm bigger than others or more intelligent. No, I became successful because I had the willpower to fail, to come home, and to try it again, and try it again. It's very difficult to say who is the leading man today. Maybe in rock climbing is Sharma, probably, maybe also Adam Ondra. in the classical alpinism for at least 15 years. It was Alexander Huber, the leading figure, the most creative figure. In high altitude climbing in the moment, or maybe in the last years, it was Steve House. So there are single figures becoming leading in these fields. In classical alpinism, you have to overcome high difficulties. You have to cope with danger, that's dangerous, and you have to avoid danger, this is an art, and you have to do the whole thing in high exposure. For this, the climb of Steve House on Nanga Parbat is so important, because he was by himself and his friend Andersen in an absolute exposure. If they would have done one mistake. If somebody is going to a mountain where there's no danger, he's not really a mountaineer. Afterlife is something we have no instruments for. We cannot understand with our intelligence, with our eyes, with our nose, with what we have as an instrument to understand the world, ourselves, what's happening after life. So we cannot either understand what's a divine dimension. And this is for me beyond everything. What is beyond is beyond. I don't think about it. And I had a few moments where I was near to death, very near to death. And I never had the feeling this is important in this moment. It was interesting to feel that dying is the most simple thing. You let you fall and you die, not in the wall. If you still hang there, you try to hang on with your teeth if it's possible, or with the fingernails. But if you are really on your end, it's like, okay, I'm happy that it's over. And part of my success is based on the right partners. I had very good partners. And maybe I was also lucky and I had a good instinct to find the right partners in the different fields, because I did rock climbs, I did high altitude climbs, I did crossings of deserts and of Antarctica, for example. The climbing partner should be identify in the same way yourself are identifying with the goal. So both, if it's only two partners, both should be willing to do this climb. It's better if you have a friend, but it's also possible if you have a partner. You don't need a friend, you need a strong partner. He should be at least in the same level. And what is more important than the level in climbing is the identification with the goal. If you take somebody who's not willing to go and he's maybe skeptical, it's very dangerous, because your responsibility is too high. And this is very interesting. And I think this is generally, I can tell it to all the young people, if you identify with your goals, and if you have the willpower to come over certain difficulties, there will always be certain difficulties. If you find the right people to help, you will be successful.